I'm Miss Claire from the Atlantic County Library, Hammonton, and today we're going to be making a coffee sleeve for your takeout coffees out of fabric. The materials you're going to need is a piece of fabric about 1/4 yard of either cotton, flannel, or felt. So what you do first, you're also going to need pins, needles, a pair of scissors, and a pattern. The pattern you can make yourself out of a coffee sleeve that's made out of cardboard. But if you do that, you have to add 1/4 inch all the way around, which allows for your seam allowance, like this. Now, if you don't want to go to that trouble, you can get in touch with us in Hammonton, and we will email you the pattern and the directions. So, you take your 1/4 yard of fabric, and you fold it in half lengthwise with the right sides together. And then you're going to lay your pattern on it. You're going to pin it to the fabric, and then you're going to cut around it. 1/4 yard of fabric will make 4 of these. So if you have smaller pieces, as long as it's at least 9 inches from top to bottom, you're fine. And it has to be, I think, about 12 inches long. So once you do that, you pin your paper on, you cut it out, and you get 2 identical pieces. Now the other thing you need is quilt batting. Quilt batting comes in a variety of what they call lofts, which is thickness. You're probably going to use low loft quilt batting. And if you can get it, you're going to want to use cotton quilt batting because it doesn't transmit the heat as easily as the polyester stuff. We're only going to cut out 1, but if you don't like it and it's not thick enough, you can add 2. So once that's all together, you're going to stack them, quilt batting, the 2 pieces of material with the right sides together, and you're going to take a hair elastic, which I have pinned already because I didn't want to lose it. And the reason you use this is because they're nice and stretchy, and they also form a perfect loop when you squeeze them in the middle, which is what we need. So if it has a metal end on it like this one does, you want to make sure that when you pin it in, the metal end is sticking out, because that way it'll be within the body of the quilt of the coffee sleeve. So then you pin all the way around, which I don't have enough pins to do, but you'll get the idea. You pin all the way around, and you leave a gap about this big, 2 inches on average, at the bottom, and that's for turning it right side out. You can make these using a sewing machine, or you can make them hand sewing, which is how I did it. And if you're going to hand sew, you're going to use what they call a double running stitch. You're going to do it all the way around once, and then you're going to come back and fill in as much of the white spots as you can. Then, after you get everything sewn with your gap, you're going to trim it, which I actually think I already did, which I shouldn't have done. You're going to trim it as the batting off as close to the fabric as possible. What that does is it makes it so it's not bulky in the seams, and you don't end up with ridges on your hands. And then you want to cut off the corners on the diagonal. And the reason for that is the same. You want it to make it look like it's a point, a square. And then once you trim it all, you turn it right side out. And you take your finger, or if you have short fingers, use a pencil, the rubber band end of the pencil, and you poke out the corners. And you can pull on the tie to get this one out. Okay. So once that's done, if you want to, you can press it. I hate ironing, so I very rarely ever do. You're going to pin the gap closed, and you're going to sew it together. Now you can do it one of 2 ways. You can do it as an overcast stitch, which leaves you a line of sewing there, or you can do it as a whip stitch where it actually mostly ends up inside. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. So then the last step is to sew a button on. The button goes in about 1/4 inch, and there's 2 types of buttons. There's this kind where you sew directly through the button onto the thing that you're making. And then there's a type called a shank button. And the shank button, you don't see the holes on the top. There's a little thing that comes off the back that has the holes in it. Some people might want to use them because it's not always easy to get the elastic around this kind. But there you go. We have kits all made up with everything that you need except for the scissors at Hammonton. They will be going out next week because this is next week's Grab and Go craft. We also have some other Grab and Go sewing crafts. There's going to be, like right now, we're doing fabric jar openers. There's this one. There's a pin cushion and a needle book, which is good for storing needles in and pins. And the last project is going to be a quilted pillow. So we hope to see you. Hope you had fun, and thanks for watching.